Money market refers to trading short-term debt investment that transfers short-term funds from surplus unit or the savers to the deficit unit or the borrowers. Money market primarily used by the government that needs to borrow funds to finance their budget deficits, while corporations and the governments may issue short-term securities that are purchased by local investors, and individuals or local institutional investors that provide funds through short-term deposits at commercial banks. The growth of international business has caused corporations and governments in particular countries to need short-term funds denominated in a currency that is different from their home currency. First, they borrow funds to pay for imports denominated in a foreign currency. Second, to support local operations, they considered borrowing in a currency in which the interest rate is relatively cheap. This strategy is especially desirable if they have receivables denominated in that currency in the future. Third, they borrow in a currency that will depreciate against their home currency, as they would be able to repay the loan at a more favorable exchange rate over time. Meanwhile, there are some corporations and institutional investors that have motives to invest in a foreign currency rather than their home currency because the interest rate in their home currency may be lower than they could earn on short-term investment denominated in some other currency. And they also consider investing in a currency that will appreciate against their home currency at a more favorable exchange rate at the end of the investment period. The preferences of corporations and governments to borrow or to invest in foreign currencies to make short-term investment is resulted in a creation of international money market. The international money market includes large banks in countries around the world. Two important international money markets are European money market and the Asian money market. The origin of European money market can be traced to the euro currency market developed during the 1960s to 1970s. During this period, MNCs expanded their operations so international financial intermediate emerged to accommodate their needs. There was a consistent need for dollars in Europe and elsewhere because US dollar was widely used by even foreign countries as a medium of operation during that period. Corporations in United States deposited US dollars in European banks to conduct international trade with European countries. The banks were willing to accept the deposit because they could lend the dollars to corporate consumers based in Europe. These dollar deposits in banks in Europe known as Eurodollars, but don't be confused with the Eurodollars because these US dollar deposits held at a bank outside United States and can be on the other continent as well, not just in Europe. The growth of the euro currency market was stimulated by regulatory changes in the United States. For example, when the United States limited foreign lending by US banks in 1968, foreign subsidiaries of US-based MNCs could obtain US dollars from the banks in Europe via the euro currency market. When ceilings were placed on the interest rate paid on dollar deposits in the United States, MNCs transferred their funds to European banks, which were not subject to the ceilings. The growing importance of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, also contributed to the growth of the euro currency market. Because OPEC generally requires payment for oil in dollars, the OPEC countries began to use the euro currency market deposit a portion of their oil revenues. These dollar-denominated deposits are sometimes known as petrodollars. Petrodollars are US dollars paid to an oil-exporting countries for the sale of oil or simply an exchange of oil for US dollars. Like the European money market, the Asian money market originated as a market involving mostly dollar-denominated deposits that emerged to accommodate the needs of the businesses that were using the US dollar and some other foreign currency as a medium of exchange for international trade. These businesses could not rely on the banks in Europe because of the distance and different time zones. Today, the Asian money market is centered in Hong Kong and Singapore, where large banks accept deposits and make loans in various foreign currencies. The major sources of deposits in the Asian money market are MNCs with excess cash and government agencies. Manufacturers are major borrowers in this market. Another function is interbank lending and borrowing. Banks that have more qualified loan applicants that they can accommodate use the interbank market to obtain additional funds. That's all. Thank you for listening.